Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tips. My name is Julian, and this is the waiver wire video for week 4 of the fantasy hockey season. As you can see, guys, I'm wearing a brand new fantasy tip shirt. Not available for purchase just yet. I don't have a store, but I'll be wearing it for this season. I got another shirt that I ordered as well, which I'll be wearing this season as well. Now, this video is going to be just like every other week I've done this, and I will continue to do this every single week. I'm going to go through the schedule for this week and tell you guys which guys you should consider adding based on both that schedule and guys that are worth adding long term. And then we'll take it from there. Before we get started, guys, please leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. If you do want to take your support to the next level, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. Thanks so much, guys. And without further ado, let's jump right into the schedule for this week. All right, so as you can see here, guys, there are 3 games Monday, 12 games Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday only, 13 on Thursday, only 2 again on Friday, 14 on Saturday, and 3 on Sunday. So as usual, guys, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday are the off nights this week, and they really are off nights because the 3 nights that there are games, there are a good amount of games, so your lineup is probably full. And those off nights, there really are not a lot of games, so you probably have a lot of room in your lineup. And you definitely want to be maximizing the amount of players that can play on those days for you. That way, your bench isn't just super loaded on the days that are busier. Now, there are 5 teams that have a bad schedule once again this week. And the reason that they have a bad schedule is because they only play 2 games next week. Those teams are Colorado, Columbus, Minnesota, St. Louis, and Winnipeg. Yes, St. Louis Blues players, owners. Once again, they have a bad fantasy week. They have not played a lot of games so far, and last week they did play 4 games in the week, which was fantastic to see. And once again this week, they have a bad week. Looking forward, though, the Blues are going to have some solid weeks because they've played way less games than everybody else. So hang tight, guys, and if you have players like Robert Thomas or Vladimir Tarasenko, trust me, they're going to get a lot of games in a bit later. Now, based on the schedule, there are 2 teams that play on 3 off nights and another 2 teams that play on 2 off nights this week. Those are the best teams to be streaming this week. The 2 teams that have the best schedule and 3 off nights are Buffalo and Carolina. Then Detroit and Toronto also have pretty good schedules with 2 off nights this week. So not only does Detroit have one of the best schedules this week, they also have the top guy on this list, Dominik Kubalik, and he's someone that if for some reason he's still available in your league, should be added right away. He's playing top line and top power play with Dylan Larkin and David Perron. He's been absolutely unreal, putting up multiple points every single game. He's looking real good. Obviously, he's not going to be able to maintain this incredible pace. He's going to slow down a little bit, but he's still top line, top power play. So even if he does slow down a little bit, still going to do pretty well. Like Dominik Kubalik a lot as an ad. Then I have Taylor Hall, who for some reason is down to 64% rostered. He's playing on the second line with Krejci and with Pasternak. It's a pretty good place. And he's been producing lately. Definitely someone that should be owned in more leagues. And I have Chandler Stevenson, who I did suggest last week as an ad because of the favorable schedule and because he was a little bit hot. Now the dude is really hot. He's got 4 points, including 3 goals in his last 4 games. And he's looking pretty deadly on that top line with Mark Stone and Jack Eichel. That's a great place for him to be. And then I have to mention that Chandler Stevenson's actually being deployed on the left wing right now beside those 2 guys. So he could potentially gain left wing eligibility for triple eligibility, which is super valuable. Kind of like that. And I have Anders Lee, who's pretty hot right now for the New York Islanders. As long as he stays hot, makes for a decent addition to your team. Then I have Nico Hischier, 48% rostered. And through 7 games so far, he's got 7 points. Looking really good, guys. Winning a lot of faceoffs as well if you need that. He's someone that I really do like this year. Last year finished with 60 points in only 70 games. And if he can stay healthy this year, Nico Hischier is going to have himself an amazing season. Then I got Jake DeBrusk, who's playing alongside Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron. He was doing well before Brad Marchand even joined the team. Now that Brad Marchand is surprisingly healthy already, Jake DeBrusk is going to gain a lot of value playing with those top guys like him as Ned. Martin Necas of the Carolina Hurricanes playing second line's top power play for Carolina. And like I said, guys, Carolina has an amazing schedule this week with 3 off nights. Necas should be a priority add in your leagues this week. And then I have Dylan Strome of the Washington Capitals. And not only is he playing top power play, He was recently promoted to the top line with Ovechkin. That's a really good place for him to be, obviously. Anybody playing with Ovechkin immediately gains a lot of value. And I like him as an ad for this week. Then I have Shane Pinto, who as of this recording has a 5-game goal streak. Absolutely incredible. I don't know if he's going to score tonight when I'm recording this, but wow, this guy's looking good. Obviously, his shooting percentage is incredibly inflated. These goals are not going to keep coming, but that line could keep clicking. He could put up some assists, and he could keep shooting the puck, right? Shane Pinto is a decent ad. Now, Josh Norris also could be done for the year at this point. And at the moment, Pinto's still playing on that third line. But it's possible that if Brassard, who is playing on the second line, doesn't look that good, Pinto could get elevated to that second line and could gain even more value. I like Pinto at this spot. Definitely someone I don't mind picking up right now. Then I have Nick Robertson, the Toronto Maple Leafs, playing on the second line with Tavares and Nylander. Looking pretty good, 3 points through 3 games so far, and the Leafs do have a decent off-night schedule with 2 off-nights this week. Then I have Jeff Skinner of the Buffalo Sabres. And like I said, guys, Buffalo plays on 3 off-nights this week, so their players should kind of be priority ads for you this week. That way you can actually get some games in on those really not busy nights. Jeff Skinner, on the night that I'm recording this, actually scored a goal. So in his last 5 games, he's got a total of 3 points, which isn't too bad. He's getting top line and top power play deployment with Tage Thompson and Alec Tuck. It's a pretty good place to be, and Jeff Skinner, we all know, can light the lamp. Definitely don't mind him as an ad this week. Then I got Kevin Hayes of the Philadelphia Flyers. Has 8 points through 6 games so far, which is absolutely fantastic. So as long as he keeps up his high play, guys, definitely a solid ad. Then I have Cole Perfetti, and like I said, guys, Winnipeg only does play 2 games this coming week, so he's not my favorite ad in the world, but in his last 4 games, he's got a 4-game point streak along with 5 points. He's looking pretty good out there, guys, on the second line in Winnipeg, and he's someone that should be considered to be added to more teams. Then I have Tyler Mott of the Ottawa Senators, who's playing on that third line with Pinto, been pitching in a lot on those assists, been looking pretty good himself. And if you have hits in your league, he's someone that hits a lot as well. So he gives you a pretty slate floor night in and night out. Then I have Victor Olofsson, who a couple of games ago scored 2 goals and an assist. Looked pretty good. He's not someone who's super consistent, but is now playing with Dylan Cousins on the third line. If you want to call that the third line, could be considered the second line. It's a pretty good place to be. And he's a good streamer for the off nights that Buffalo has this week. Then I have Max Domi of the Chicago Blackhawks, and I've been kind of repping him since the beginning of the year, guys. He's getting top line, top power play time, both with Patrick Kane. Has 4 points through 6 games so far. I think Domi's going to have himself a nice year this year. Then I have Alex Kerfoot of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they have a couple off nights this week, and Kerfoot's now getting tried out on the top line with Matthews and with Marner. I'll sign up for that. Sounds like a pretty good spot to be in. Then I have Casey Middlestat and Dylan Cousins of the Buffalo Sabres. Both play center, second, and third line for the Sabres, and both have been producing decently to start the year. They both make for some pretty decent ads for those off nights. Middlestat plays with Jack Quinn and Hinostroza, and then Dylan Cousins plays with Olofsson and with JJ Peterka. Then I have Derek Brassard of the Ottawa Senators. I did not think I'd be recommending Derek Brassard this early in the season, but he's currently getting a shot to man the second line in Ottawa between DeBrincat and Claude Giroux. That is an amazing place to be right now for Brassard. And if you're in a deep league, he is a priority ad. He's a must-add player right now because he's going to get a really solid opportunity on that line. Jumping into defenseman now, and first on the list is Arbor Xhekaj, or as we call him in Montreal, Wi-Fi, because his last name looks like a Wi-Fi password. He's 32% rostered, and he's a guy who is good if you're in a hitting league, and that's it. He's someone who's been hitting a ridiculous amount to start the year, and if you need hits in a Cats league, or you need to get some points in a league where hits gets you points, he's a great ad. Otherwise, don't add him, but if you need that, he's a very, very good ad. Then I have Caitlin Addison of the Minnesota Wild, still playing on the top power play, still putting up points, makes for a decent ad. Brandon Montour, Florida Panthers, 29% rostered, playing top power play, putting up points. Why are not more people adding him to their team? Should be way more than 29% rostered. Then I have Philip Hronek of the Detroit Red Wings. And for some reason, Moritz Seider is not being played on Detroit's top power play. If you guys watched my preseason content, I kind of warned you guys not to draft Moritz Seider so early because he just wasn't worth drafting that early. And not being on the top power play just makes my predictions that much better because that's going to hurt his fantasy value. Hronek is actually playing on that top unit with Larkin, with Kubalik, with David Perron, and he's actually been producing. So if you need a defenseman who's going to put up points because he is on the top power play, Hronek is not that bad of an option. Then I have J.J. Moser of the Arizona Coyotes, only 3% rostered. And while that power play hasn't been quite as effective lately, he is still a top power play defenseman, so the opportunity to put up points is always there. Jumping into goalies, and first on the list is Anton Forsberg of the Ottawa Senators, starting every single game for the Sens because Talbot is still injured and is not yet ready to return. Forsberg has done not too bad so far, and if you need a starting goalie, he's definitely a decent one. John Gibson, someone who has not performed super well so far. We all know how good Gibson can be at his peak, though. If you need a starting goalie and he's available, it's not a terrible idea because he does play on a lot of off nights, especially in points-based leagues, not Cats leagues. He could be pretty valuable. And that's season-long, not necessarily this week, because the Ducks don't really play on a lot of off nights this week. Jake Allen, 40% rostered, and another pretty good ad. Montreal hasn't been as bad as people have been saying, and Jake Allen has actually been pretty good so far. Decent ad, especially in points-based leagues as well. James Reimer has been absolutely phenomenal. Could be added in both types of leagues right now, both Cats and points-based leagues, until he cools off. But wow, has he ever been hot. He's definitely the starter in San Jose. Then I have Eric Comrie, who's starting the vast majority of starts in Buffalo. And in the last game that he played, he didn't do too well, but he's definitely the starter there in Buffalo. Craig Anderson is 41 years old, so he's not going to get that many starts this year. He's going to get maybe a start a week, and then Comrie will get the rest, guys. So Comrie is both playing well and is getting a lot of starts, so he's a pretty solid ad. Mackenzie Blackwood is the starter in New Jersey. Has been much better than Vitek Vanacek so far this year. And as long as he's starting games, guys, very good ad in points-based leagues, although don't trust him too much in categories leagues as of yet. Then Alex Stalock of the Chicago Blackhawks, and wow, he's actually been playing some decent hockey. And as long as Mrazek remains on the sidelines, Stalock is the starter in Chicago. Then I have Kirill Vmelka of the Arizona Coyotes, and he hasn't been that great lately, but if you do need a starting goalie, he is one, at least right now. Then I have Martin Jones of the Seattle Kraken, and as long as Philip Grubauer is on IR, Martin Jones is getting all of the starts in Seattle. Only 6% rostered, so if you're super desperate and in a deep league, he is someone getting starts. No, he's not a great goalie, but he's not been playing too bad as of late. And then last but not least, I have Charlie Lindgren of the Washington Capitals. And this one's a little bit of a stretch, but Washington does play a back-to-back set on Monday and Tuesday, so he will get one of those two games. And then they play Detroit on Thursday, and then Arizona on Saturday. So I'm thinking that Lindgren could also potentially get the game against Arizona on Saturday. And if he does, then Lindgren could see 2 starts next week. I wouldn't bank on this unless you're desperate, though. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. If you do want to take your support to the next level, link to my Patreon is in the description below. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.